What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers, and welcome to UFC Vegas 40 Best Bet, where we're going to give the best bet for each and every single fight on this card. And as always, there are two rules. We're going to use your current UFC lines and also no passing. We're going to give out a best bet for each and every fight on the card, including the Andre Arlovski Felipe fight, which there isn't much on there, but there is a spot that I do like we'll talk about. So, yeah, not the best card in the world, especially after losing the Julian Marquez versus Jordan Wright fight. That was literally half my action, but, still have a ton of spots to talk about. We still have a card, as I always say, a bad card is better than no card. So looking forward to it regardless. And I am here with a really solid crew today. We have Wheezy, Narco Cop, and Tajik Bey. We'll start with Wheezy. Wheezy, what is up? Are you looking forward to this card?
Yeah, if it seems like I'm a bit melancholy today, everybody, all my action kind of got pulled out from under me yesterday. I went so hard in the paint on that Marquez Wright fight. I had a chip on my shoulder. I was out to prove a point. I made it my ass shaving of the week. And then they just pulled the rug out from under me. And, but we gotta look, we have to face adversity in life. And this is one of those cards where we got to face adversity, everybody. This is where we're going to find out what we're made of. I got some bets for you guys here. I got some reaches, but let's try to make some money on this card.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We have Narco Cop as well. Narco, what is up? Are you looking forward to this card, man?
What's up, Brady? Yeah, definitely looking forward. I mean, fight week is fight week for me. It's a time that I see that I can make money, and hey, any card is good for me as long as I can make some money.
100% agree. And then we have the GOAT, Tajik. Tajik was on Lock of the Nights stream last night. I really did enjoy that. Tajik, you looking forward to the card?
Hey Brady, yes, it was a great pod yesterday. I'm very much looking forward to the card this week. Every UFC event is like Valentina Shevchenko likes to say, is a decoration of my week. So that's it. I love this week, and I'm very excited for this fight.
100% looks like we are all 3 or 4 excited for this card. Dope Space Cowboy bringing another song despite all his rage. Wheezy still making bets on the cage. There you go. Wheezy, you like it?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a band from my youth. I grew up right down the street from Billy Corgan. So, yeah, let's get some money today, you guys. There's still 10 fights. There's still opportunities out here. Let's get it.
Let's get it. Do want to shout out the chat. If you all can hit the like button before we get started, that'd be much appreciated. Also, subscribe to the channel. Go check out these guys as well. We'll give out their info and what they're doing later in the show. But we have Cody, first one in the chat. Cody's ready. Tajik in the chat and on the stream. Alex in the car. We have Wong as well. JR. Kyle, hopefully pronounced it right. Daz as well saying hit the like. I agree. Hit the like. We have Asphalt. Rob B. We have Ratchet. Hype. Thank you all for hanging out on a Saturday, 1 hour prior to the prelims as always. So I say we get into it, guys, and let's start with the very first fight of the night. We have Ariana Carnelossi going against Estela Nunez. Wheezy, what is your best bet for this first fight of the card?
Okay, so let me be clear here that I don't have a bet on this fight. Earlier in the week when Nunez was around plus 150, I would have considered that the bet to make. But right now, you can only find her around like plus 115, plus 120. Not enough juice there. We don't exactly know. I mean, speaking of juice, we got Estela Nunez, who has been caught by USADA for juicing. Tajik went into the details of that yesterday on Locke's podcast. But because of the layoff for Nunez, and one statistic that I see that Brady and I always talk about on Stat Diggers is the combined losses of the two combatants and then playing that to whether the fight goes over or under. Well, Nunez has 1 loss. Carnelossi has 2 in her career. All 3 of them have come inside the distance. So I think it could be a cheeky little fight doesn't go to decision bet here. And we can get that line right now at plus 145 on Bet Online. So fight doesn't go to decision. We got a layoff here. We could have an adrenaline dump from Nunez. She's also very good on the feet. Both of these ladies are dangerous on the feet. Carnelossi has only attempted 1 takedown in 2 UFC fights. Not much of a wrestler. So I do plan on seeing this staying on the feet. These ladies throwing heat. And hopefully one of them gets knocked out and we cash a fight doesn't go to decision bet.
Fight doesn't go decision, plus 145 on Bet Online. Yeah, the first fight of the night, we always talk about it. Like, it always ends inside the distance, but I'm actually going to go the complete opposite route and go with the fight goes to decision at minus 166. You brought up a lot of good points. Neither fighter has lost by decision, but, you know, when watching Nunez, she doesn't really strike me as some power puncher. I remember she had like a head kick knockout, but other than that, I think she has maybe 2 knockouts on her record. She seems like a tough fighter. I think her only loss was by submission against a very good fighter in Adriana Lee. So I'm going to say the fight goes the distance, and typically I'm not a fight goes the distance or over guy, but you'll hear on this card that I have a lot of those bets. So this is one that I'm kind of looking at to kind of squeak over, go the distance. It might get sweaty here and there with the power of Carnelossi, but I'm going to say this does go over and goes to decision, minus 166 on FanDuel. Narco Cop, what are you looking at for this fight for a best bet?
Right there with you. I actually have a bet on this fight. Fight goes to decision, minus 150. But currently, yeah, I'd still give it out at minus 165. I just see that, you know, even though Carnelossi got hit in that Liang fight and she kind of got rocked right in the beginning, she's very durable. You go watch that Angela Hill fight. She got hit a lot, eventually got stopped, but it was a cut stoppage. So, you know, Nunez for me is not very powerful. She not very high volume either. I just see this mostly as a stat. You know, the only worry I would have here is if actually Carnelossi decided to start grappling, which we don't see from her on tape. And if she doesn't grapple, I think it's going to be a stand-up fight. And with that being said, I think this fight goes to decision a good amount of time. So I took it at minus 150. It's minus 165, 166 now. I still would give that as my best bet.
So you are on the fight goes to decision. And then Tajik, what are you looking at for this fight here?
I think it's going to be a great fight. You know, we covered this fight extensively this week, and it's a very close fight. And then, so, you know, for Carnelossi, she would have to mix up her game with the, you know, with the takedown, with the grappling. We haven't seen that yet, but she looks leaner this time around. So hopefully she understands that just standing wise, it's her path to victory will be very limited, because Nunez has a great stand up, and you know, her counterattacking style is actually, you know, very well suited to go against Carnelossi. I would say it's a 50-50 fight. I actually like Carnelossi to win this fight. I think I agree with you guys that it has a potential to go to a decision. So I'm going to take Carnelossi by decision.
Carnelossi by decision is sitting at plus 210 on FanDuel. Don't hate it. So, Wheezy, JSJ is saying ass shaming of the week. Curse is real. Win canceled last week, right? Canceled this week. Get a theory on that, right?
Yeah, I did. You know, we were talking about this, Brady, and I think that, you know, now with the ass shaving of the week being one of MMA Twitter, MMA YouTube's one of the hottest, you know, subjects on any kind of social media platform, that this is putting a lot of pressure on whoever is involved in the fight. I think Wynn found out he was going to be the victim of the ass shaving of the week last week and said, you know what, I'm done. I'm pulling out of this fight. And now Marquez, you know, who I picked to shave Wright's ass, you know, he has to pull out on the day of with health issues. You know, this is a lot of weight on their shoulders. You know, hopefully this isn't a trend going forward, but I am switching it over to Fioro this week. I do like Fioro quite a bit. I've got 4 units on her because I had a parlay canceled. So yeah, hopefully, you know, we do see the ass shaving of the week coming through from here on out. But yeah, 2 in a row now. That's a bad thing.
Yeah, it sucks, man. 2 fights I was really looking forward to see. But, you know, now we have Brandon Davis going against Dumont Batcoral. Let's start with Tajik. Tajik, what are you looking at for this fight here?
Close fight, good fight. I think Dana has you know, better chances. He's better in the stand up. You know, on every single striking metric, he outperforms you know, Brandon Davis. Brandon Davis didn't fight in a long time in the UFC, so he's making his comeback. I see his ways to victory very limited. You know, I don't agree with the narrative that he's gonna go out there and suddenly become this you know, outstanding wrestler and is gonna dominate Dana on the ground. I think it's going to be close. He would try to clinch, and then once they separate, he feels Dana's power. I think this is where it's going to end. Dana hits, not only he has a great volume, but he hits very hard. If you watch the Alateng Haley fight, every time he touched Alateng Haley was like just shocked with how much power Dana packs. And his last 2 opponents didn't have a chance to just appreciate fully his power. They just got KO'd, right? And so I like Donat here. I would bet him just straight. I don't know if he KOs Brandon. Brandon never been KO'd. I could see that the possibility if he just sits and launches the hook. I think he can knock him out. But yeah, I'm gonna go with, especially at these odds right now at -150. I think it's Donat Batcoral is a good bet.
So Donat straight -150 bet online. Narco Cop, what are you looking at for this fight here?
I'm actually on the other end of the spectrum. I actually have a bet on Brandon Davis +155. I also have a couple of bets here. So I have Brandon Davis +155. I have Brandon Davis by submission +1,000. And I also have fight goes to decision -150. But as far as giving you the best bet with current odds, I'd probably go Davis submission +1,000. I think you can get it on BetMGM. Yeah. So my reasoning here is, I totally agree with what Tajik said. Donat's boxing is really crisp, really nice, very, very dangerous left hook with a lot of power that he's, literally knocked out 3 or 4 guys with. But the thing is here, Brandon Davis, very durable, very tough. And the reason why I see this going to grappling is because you see it in the fight versus Giga, right? When he knows he's outmatched, when he knows he's not the better striker, he does rely on his takedowns. And I think, if he does proactively grapple here, he's going to land takedowns. I know Alatang, Haley got his takedowns in the 3rd round, but, he never really shot for them in the 1st and 2nd round and decided to just stand up with Donat. So, Davis here, kicks are going to be very important here. I think he's got a nice kicking game, a lot of deep kicks. And the other thing you notice with Davis is the fact the guy is now down to 135. He's going to be a really big 35er here. The size, the length, the reach, it's going to give Donat some problems here. And I think that kicking game is going to come into effect. And, if you can get that subline, and the reason why I like the subline again is because I believe he's going to be able to get it down to the ground. And I believe he's the much, much better submission grappler here.
Sounds good. +1,000 by submission. Wheezy, what are you looking at for this one here?
Yeah, I've got a couple of bets on this fight as well. And I want to, spot on analysis there by Narco Cop. I'm on the same page with him in terms of fight going to decision here. I do like this fight going to decision. Brandon Davis has got a next level chin, and he has shown that next level chin against mostly 145ers who really crack, guys like Zabit. And he's taken some flush shots in his fights. So I don't see him getting knocked out. And I really don't see him finishing Batcoral either. Like Tajik said, we've seen Brandon Davis go to the wrestling, but, he's not turning into Colby Covington overnight either, So, but I think that this is going to be a very close fight. I do have the fight goes to decision in a greasy 4-leg time prop parlay that I have that's about +700. But the bet that I have here also is I have a half unit on Brandon Davis to win this fight by decision. He's going to be much bigger. He's going to be by far the biggest opponent that Batcoral has fought in the UFC. I mean, by far. And I think that distance is going to make a difference in this fight. And what Narco Cop said about the teep kicks, I think that while this fight is on the feet, it's going to be very, very, very close. But I do see Davis going to the wrestling at times to try to win some minutes and maybe bank a round or two. And because of that advantage, being able to mix it up and mix in that wrestling, I do see him getting the job done here. I've got Brandon Davis a half unit by decision at +300.
There you go, Davis by decision. Yeah, I'm just going to go with the fight goes to decision -130. I actually really like that line. You mentioned the next level toughness of Davis. In all of his fights, he's never been knocked out, and he's fought some really good competition, like Jika Jikadze, Zabit, who submitted him. But yeah, hasn't been knocked out. The guy's very, very tough. You can maybe hurt him, but getting him out of there is a completely different story. So yeah, I think fight goes is actually pretty solid, -138. If there is a finish, maybe it could be a Davis submission, or maybe Donat can knock him out. But I don't think either of those are that likely. So give me the -138. The fight goes to decision there. I think it's a pretty solid spot, actually. Daz with Dono saying the ass shaving secret is out. Look out, world. Yes, sir, it is out. Nothing we can do about it now. Sorry, Wheezy. But we should move on to the next fight. And we have Lupita Godinez going against Luana Carolina. Let's start with Narco Cop. Narco Cop, what are you looking here?
I don't have a bet here, but if I was to give one, I think fight goes to decision is not bad at all at minus 148. Lupita, even though she got the finish last time with the armbar, throughout her career, she's mainly a decision person. She's been, she's got, I think, 2 stoppages inside the distance. So here, on 1 week's notice, she's going to be the much smaller girl here going up against, a girl in Luana, Carolina, that I don't really like what I see on tape, but she's just a massive girl at this weight class for Lupita. And you see Lupita at weigh-ins. We talked about this yesterday, like completely, at the weigh-ins, hydrated probably to the max, and she's 121, right? Like, that's got to be, she's got to be, 15 to 20 pounds, giving up 15 to 20 pounds here to Luana, and a huge like reach advantage, stuff like that. Yeah, she might get this fight to the ground, but it won't be easy, in my opinion. And for that reason, I just, I don't see any like Carolina doing anything to stop this fight because Lupita is very, very durable. So that's why, hence, I like this fight goes to the decision minus 148.
Yep, I'm going to 100% agree with you. I had the same thing. I actually did bet it officially at minus 152, and the line got better, minus 148. So, yeah, I like that quite a bit. I think there's a lot of recency bias. Godinez went out there and finished a bum in her last fight. Carolina, although I'm not high on her, she's going to have like an 8-inch reach advantage. She's going to have a 4 or 5-inch height advantage as well. We saw at the weigh-ins, like you mentioned, Lupi weighing in at minus 121. That's pretty concerning, especially considering she's like minus 235 on some books. So, yeah, I think it's a good decision. I think it's going to be very close, but regardless, don't really see a finish here in a minus 148. My thinking is if Lupi did not finish that bum in her last fight, I think that line would be like minus 300, minus 275. But since she did, we see it at minus 148 now. I'm definitely going to take advantage of that. Wheezy, what are you looking at for this fight here?
Yeah, I got to just go with what you guys are going with here because I do like the over 2.5. I like the fight goes to decision because, I think Godinez is going to make this a grappling match. She doesn't really have much of a choice. She's at an 8-inch reach disadvantage here. She's going to be much smaller. If she just stays on the outside and tries to land her boxing, she's just not going to be in range. So I think she's going to have to make this really greasy. And as a result of that, I think we're going to see this wind up on the cage for most of the fight because Carolina is way bigger and Carolina's used to being taken down and having, shots made on her. So, I just think it's going to be up against the cage most of the time. I think it's going to be a really greasy fight. And I kind of just like fight going to decision here, but I don't have a bet on this fight.
Sounds good. Like three in a row here. Tajik, are you on the same thing or are you going somewhere different here?
No, I agree with everybody here. I think it's a great breakdown of this fight. For Lupi to bet her is really tough. Just on a week notice, up the weight class. There's so much height and reach disparity. It's very at this point she's unbettable. I agree that this fight has a potential going into decision. I think Lupi can still pull it out, but it's going to be closer than we assume. Somewhere in the 29-28 area. So I think Lupi takes it by decision. I wouldn't bet this fight, but if I were, then I would take Lupi by decision.
Yep, sounds good. Looks like we're all on the same page here. Lupi by decision. I see plus 160 on 5 dimes, plus 150 on FanDuel. So sweet, all on the same page there. Next, we have a fight that I think will be on different pages. We have Danny Roberts going against Ramazan Ameev. Let's start with Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, what do you like for this fight?
Yeah, let me be really clear. I don't have a bet on this fight. I do like Ameev to win the fight, but the line is absolutely unbettable. I mean, like the best that you can get is minus 305. I mean, most other places it's going to be about minus 330. I mean, the implied probability is approaching 78, 79% there. I don't like that. So what I would do is I would just put a big prop out there. I don't have a bet on this, but frankly, Roberts by KO or TKO plus 750 for a guy that has the kind of power that Danny Roberts has. I think that that's a decent stab. You could throw a quarter unit on it there and you get almost 2 back if he does land a big shot on Ameev. I think Ameev's going to wrestle him a lot here. I do think Ameev is really good defensively and hard to hit, but that seems to be Danny Roberts' only path to victory. And Roberts has never won by decision. So if he does get this done, he could potentially find a big shot here. And at plus 750 on FanDuel right now, I think it's wide enough to take a shot on. But let me be clear, I'm not betting it, and I don't have a bet on this fight.
Yeah, that's juicy for sure. Yeah, I agree that the line is like way off here. I would not touch the money line of Ameev, but I do think he wins. But I do think it's going to be closer than the line indicates. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take Ameev to win by decision. I think he's going to exploit the takedown defense of Roberts, hold him against the cage, take him down here and there. But yeah, I think it's going to be a lot closer than the minus 335 does indicate. And then like the minus 305, minus 350 even on BetMGM there. But yeah, I'm going to take Ameev by decision, improve that price a little bit. Give me plus 105 for that decision prop. He doesn't finish anybody. But with that said, what concerns me is Roberts has been finished in all of his losses. So even that's scary. So yeah, definitely a fight I don't want a ton of action on, if any at all. But if I was to do something, it would be that Ameev by decision. Narco Cop, which way you leaning here?
Take the value, guys. You both said it exactly what you said. This line is way too wide. And in my opinion, it's the same exact thing. And hence why I bet Danny Roberts at plus 265. And now it's, 275 on Bet Online. And I just honestly don't understand this line. I think it's completely off. If I was to be honest, I would probably put Ameev at like minus 200, 220, 230. But now in the 330 range, this is getting kind of ridiculous. And honestly, with Roberts striking, Roberts is the better striker here by far, technically. You go watch Ameev. Yeah, he switches stances, throw these looping overhand punches that I really am not fond of. And I think, the more athletic guy here is Danny Roberts. The crisper striker is Danny Roberts. Yes, I agree with you guys. He can get taken down by Ameev. And I mentioned this yesterday. But Ameev is just, his control is not very good. These guys all are getting up on him. So, with this fight being standing for most of the time, I think that's all Roberts' world. And why not take a shot at a guy that's, plus 275 at this point that, I believe this fight is going to be much, much closer than that. Am I saying Danny Roberts is going to win for sure? Absolutely not. But you're getting a lot of value, I believe, at plus 275.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with anything you just said there at all. Tajik, which way you lean? Are you leaning on the Roberts side in terms of value, or do you like Ameev to get it done?
Oh no, 100% agree with Narco Cop and Wheezy. It's very hard to bet Ameev under the spot. I mean, the line is way off at this point. He does have more ways to victory with his wrestling, but as Narco Cop mentioned, it's not that his control is superior on the ground, right? And his opponents do get up. And so for Roberts, it's a little bit hard to win because of just how elusive Ameev is, right? I mean, his style is just so that he suppresses any kind of volume out of the opposition, and he barely absorbs any punches. I think it's his absorption rate is a little bit over 2 strikes per minute or something like that. So when you look at the Ameev, I think he's a deserved favorite, but minus 200, I think I would put him in the same range. And so I would just take him by decision. I wouldn't bet him, but if I were, it's going to be Ramazan Ameev by decision. And I think this is what you've picked as well, Brady, right? I think that, yeah.
Yeah, but I think we can all agree that line just is way too wide, right? So, we'll see what happens. Cannot wait for that fight. If you all can hit the like button, that'd be awesome. We are on to the next fight, and we have a interesting one, very interesting one. I see hot takes on this one from both sides. Curious to hear what you guys have to say. We have Andrew Sanchez going against Bruno Silva, and let's stay with Tajik. Tajik, what are you liking for this one?
I think it's a great fight. First of all, great matchup. I like Andrew Sanchez here. I like his process. I think he does well. He's returning to his roots. We get cut back to AKA to work his wrestling. I hope his cardio will be in a better stance this time around. I think he's gonna go ahead, take down Silva and then just pound him out. I actually like I like him by TKO. I don't have a round, but I do like him by TKO.
Sanchez by TKO. KO is plus 600 on Bet Online. Good odds there if you do like the KO prop. Wheezy, what are you liking for this fight here?
So I've got a couple of bets on this fight. I have the under 2.5 rounds at minus 155 for 1.55 units. And I also have a quarter unit on Andrew Sanchez by submission at plus 1,400. I got that earlier in the week. So Sanchez, we haven't seen much wrestling out of him, at least much successful wrestling out of him recently, but he did switch camps over to AKA. I think that's a fantastic move for somebody who already has the great skill set that Sanchez does, having the wrestling background, having the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background. And we know that Bruno Silva, in his 6 professional losses, 5 of those have been inside the distance. And every single time he's lost inside the distance, it's been by submission. So at plus 1,400 with an under 7% implied probability, I made that bet for a quarter unit. I could see Sanchez finishing this inside the distance. I could definitely see Bruno Silva catching Andrew Sanchez and this finishing under 2.5 rounds as well. But yeah, I'm going to just give you guys the under 2.5. I think that's the best way for this to finish. It covers both sides. It covers if we do see Sanchez return to his roots, go to a wrestling heavy game plan and fish for submissions against a guy like Silva, who has been submitted 5 times. So I'm going to pick the under 2.5 in this one at about minus 150. You can get it right now at Bet Online.
Yeah, and you mentioned that sub prop for Sanchez right earlier in the week, plus 1,400. Like that's really juicy. I'm actually going to agree with DXJC here. Bruno Silva round 3 KO plus 1,100. If Sanchez is going to wrestle, he's prone to gassing out later in the fight, and Silva carries his power late into fights, and that's what I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go Silva to win by round 3 KO plus 1,100. The reason being, I liked what I heard with Sanchez in terms of going back to his roots, which means he's going to go back to wrestling, which he's going to need to do here. But we have seen time and time again where he does use that wrestling heavy game plan. He does slow down and he does get knocked out. He's been knocked out, I believe, 3 times in terms of getting knocked out just in the 3rd round. So I'm going to go with that 3rd round prop as well. A decision for Sanchez wouldn't shock me either. Maybe him grinding out Silva for 3 rounds, but I think Silva does catch him at some point in this fight. So I'm going to go with that 3rd round prop plus 1,100 by KO. And then Narco, I believe you actually have a play on this fight. Which way you lean in here?
Yeah, I got a play on Andrew Sanchez plus 135. But you see, you can get it for 136 on FanDuel. I still like that. I just believe, he's the better fighter everywhere. When you talk about technical, even his striking now, you go back and look, his striking is improving leaps and bounds. And the one thing with Silva is his striking is not technical, in my opinion, but he does carry a lot of power. And that's where Andrew Sanchez has to watch out. But then you go back to the grappling, the wrestling. Andrew Sanchez can get takedowns here. I think he can get those takedowns early and often. And based on his interview, he's saying he's going back to his wrestling, to his roots. And if he's smart, he looks like he's in good shape. The one thing I mentioned yesterday also was, in that striking affair against Muradov, like, I don't think that 3rd round KO did not come as a result of his cardio. It was more the fact that, he got caught with an uppercut and got hurt really bad from a really, really good striker and a really good technical striker that's, much, much better than Silva. So for me, you're getting a plus number on a guy in Andrew Sanchez who's really lost to, probably the cream of the crop other than Ryan James. That one, I can't vouch for him there. But the other guys, you're talking about Anthony Smith, Marvin Vettori, and Muradov. Those are not bad losses at all. He was competitive, in those fights up until he got KO'd, right? So for me, a plus number on Andrew Sanchez, who I think should be the favorite in this spot. I'm going to take it all day.
Good points there. PayPal is with you. Silva striking is due to. PayPal is the biggest Sanchez fan out there. But yeah, we'll move on to the next fight. Can't wait for that one as well. These next 3 fights in a row are pretty dang good. We have Ludovic Klein going against Nate Landwehr. A very fun and exciting fight. We'll start with Tajik Bey. Tajik, what do you like in here?
I think it will be a close match, much closer than the odds suggest. I think the odds are way off, and I don't think Klein is getting, giving Klein so much credit and such a line. I don't think it's correct. I actually like Landwehr here under the spot. Landwehr by decision is something that I'm going to be looking into, so it's going to be a last-minute decision. But I do like him. I do like Landwehr by decision here, and I think he can make it very competitive.
Yeah, kind of hot take. I think I see the majority of people on Klein out there, but Landwehr by decision plus 600, and I think that's how he wins as well. So that line does seem a little bit off to me. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go with Klein wins inside the distance. It's now minus 150. The reason being, this guy is an absolute finisher, a 94% finish rate. I think the same amount of subs as he does have knockouts. And, Landwehr's a very tough guy. I want to say he's durable, but he has been knocked out in both UFC fights, but those shots would have knocked out the majority of the fighters in the division. But, just with how hittable Landwehr is, I think that's a terrible matchup for him. I think he's going to get, knocked out at some point in this fight. I think he's going to get pieced up really bad. So I'm going to say Klein does win inside the distance. If that finish does not come, I kind of agree, Tajik. I think it'll be a lot closer than the line does indicate, but I just see him going down at some point. I see Klein knock him out with a head kick, with a knee, something. I think is going to put Landwehr out. You can't be that hittable at this level, right? You can't be that hittable, and Klein is very, very dangerous. So I'm going to take Klein to win inside the distance, minus 150, a lot better than that minus 400, but I think he does get it done inside. And then Narco, what are you looking at for this fight?
I don't have a bet on this fight, but we talked about this yesterday. Kind of opened my eyes up a little bit, and Klein by submission at plus 1,000 kind of like stuck out to me after we talked about this yesterday. And the fact that half of his wins are by stoppage or by submission. I know Landwehr has decent takedown defense and stuff like that, but again, you mentioned it, like very hittable. It could be one of those spots where he clubs and subs this guy, and getting plus 1,000 for a guy that's a good grappler, good submission grappler. I don't mind it at all. To me, Landwehr honestly is a complete fraud. I think this guy is going to be out of the UFC. He's more bark than bite, and we've realized it lately. That's all I'm going to say on Landwehr. I really don't like the guy's game whatsoever.
Klein by submission. Yeah, I think pretty much nobody's thinking that it could be a sub, but like you mentioned, a club and sub would not shock me at all, especially after seeing Klein has finished the majority of his fights by submission. Weezy, are you on the Klein side? You looking at a prop? You on the Landwehr side? What are you looking at here?
I don't have a bet on this fight either, but I want to just back up with what Narco Cop just said with the stats. We see Klein, half of his finishes by submission, half by knockout, and that's really important to note because right now, like Narco Cop said, Klein by submission plus 1,000 and Klein by knockout minus 125. So I just think personally that if you're going to bet Klein, and you thinking he's going to do it inside the distance, do not bet that KO prop. Either do the inside the distance prop, and then what you might want to do is just kind of 1/10 of a unit on that submission prop can get you back a unit. And like we say, half of his finishes are by submission, Ludovic Klein. He is well-rounded. Landwehr does have excellent takedown defense. He's had it for his entire career. But yeah, if you're going with Klein, bet him. I'm going to go inside the distance, just like you, Brady, because that right now is about minus 145. But if you take that KO prop, you're barely getting any value there. So you want to include that submission as well, and then maybe play just a little bit on the submission, like Narco Cop said, because it's probably just as likely as a knockout here.
Yeah, I like it. I think inside the distance does cover both outcomes. I'd probably take that to be safer rather than going with just the knockout prop there. But yeah, plus 1,000 sub. I'll be looking out for that one. Hammering Hog in the chat. What is up, Hammering Hog? We have Jack Attack as well. Alex hanging out. This fight is going to be crazy. I agree. I think it's going to be very crazy. We have Dan in the chat. What is up, Dan? How you doing? Shout out to Dan. Then Daz as well hanging out. All right, guys. So we'll move into the next fight. And I believe, the Klein fight was the first fight on the main card. Next, this is actually my most anticipated fight. I am looking forward to this fight so much. Looking forward to Manon Fioro going against Mara Bueno Silva. And so Weezy, I know you have a lot of action on this fight, so I'll let you kick it off first. What are you liking here?
Yeah, okay. So earlier in the week, I put 2 units on Fioro, and then I also had a 2-unit parlay where I parlayed Fioro with Marquez. So now that's just a 2-unit straight bet. So I have a 4-unit bet here on Manon Fioro at minus 195. She's special, as a mixed martial artist. She's special. She's a fantastic prospect. She's very well-rounded, a lot more well-rounded than what people give her credit for. Her striking thus far has been absolutely fantastic, showing over 80% striking defense in her 2 fights thus far. If you watch all the tape on this woman, she's destroying people. There's really nobody that's even in her, even the McCourt fight, which was a debut that she took on short notice, which was at a catch weight of 138 pounds, she still outfought Leah McCourt. The judges gave the decision to McCourt, but this woman is just too good right now. Bueno Silva is going to have a very difficult time closing the distance on Manon. Manon's distance management is at another level with her karate style striking. This is going to be Manon all day. I just think you can hit that money line for as much as you want, and you're going to be just fine at the end of the day. Just bet Manon, maybe even max better. She's going to get the job done. It's my ass shaving of the week after Marquez fell off the table. So
there you go. Yeah, we see Manon Fioro minus 260. I think is the best line. I always see minus 240 on some books. Unibet, Bet Rivers, and then Bet 365. But yeah, Weezy, what line did you get Manon at? You got it like minus 200, right?
Minus 195 for 4
nice.
units. So yeah, I got it. I think right before Stat Diggers on Sunday. So yeah, I've had that bet out there for a while. When I saw that it opened below minus 200, I was like, okay, I got to go for that. So yeah, that's where I hit it.
Yeah, man, for sure. I agree with you. I think she should get it done. But instead of the money line, which I think is okay, getting a little bit wide at this point, but I'm actually going to say Fiora wins by KO. I mean, she is vicious on the feet, and we saw how hittable Silva is in that Marina Moroz fight. Moroz, pieced her apart for 3 rounds bad. I think she landed 140 significant strikes. I don't know if she's going to be able to absorb that much against Manon Fioro, who hits a lot harder. And she's a phenomenal striker. I'm really looking forward to see this fight. I actually was a little bit hesitant on Fiora at first, but after you look into it, Mara Bueno Silva 0 takedowns attempted in the UFC on Contender Series as well. That's a red flag. If she's going to strike with Manon Fiora for 15 minutes, that's a recipe for disaster. I think if that does happen, if this fight does not hit the mat, I think Fiora does make it look easy. I'm going to say Manon Fiora does win by knockout, and at plus 180, I don't mind that at all. So give me Manon Fiora by knockout plus 180. Narco Cop, what are you looking at here?
I have a bet on Fioro at minus 190. I got in early on DraftKings for 3.8 units. But the actual, I'll have to decide with you here, Brady. The plus 180 is not a bad line by KO, just because, again, go back to the Marina Moroz fight. She was piecing her up. I believe she busted her up in that fight. And the one thing with Marina Moroz is she's just not a powerful girl when it comes to striking, right? She's got no real TKOs or KOs. But you go back and watch Fioro, man, she's vicious with her strikes, dude. Very, very dangerous, very, very dangerous kicks. The one thing and the only thing I would be worried about with the Fioro ticket is those kicks getting caught and possibly getting takedowns for MBS, because if she's able to catch a kick and get those takedowns, then I think she's better down there. But again, Fioro is just vicious on the striking aspect, and MBS is just too damn hittable on the feet, and you do not want to be that person when your opponent is Fioro, because if you're hittable on the feet, man, she's gonna bring a lot of heat.
100%. I like it. Christopher saying y'all are stupid for betting on this hype lady. Christopher, it is okay to disagree, but don't call anybody stupid. If you are on Silva, best of luck to you. Tajik, which way are you leaning here?
Yeah. So I said it in the previous appearance as well. But I think Fioro is tremendous. She reminds me a lot of a Cyril Gane. Her precision, her timing, the way she's so light. I like her style overall, and I think she's she's a future contender. But at these odds, I don't see how you can bet her. Right now, she's minus 270. I mean. This is absolutely ridiculous. There's no way she's bettable at these odds. I actually see Mayra Bueno Silva being a value bet here at plus 200. What is it? 35. I even see that actually. I think what she's gonna try to do is to throw Mano out of her element, and clinch in the beginning, just try to rattle her a little bit and maybe have a really dry first round, and then in the second and the third put up a little bit of a pace, and I could see it going to a decision. I think the good bet would in this case would be Mayra Bueno Silva by decision.
Mauro Bueno Silva by decision. Best line, you can get plus 450 out there for Mauro Bueno Silva by decision. But looks like a couple on Fioro. Tajik taking the value with Silva. Cannot wait for that fight. Probably my favorite fight in the card. But another fight that I'm looking forward to, we have Eric Gonzalez going against Jim Miller. And let's start with Narco Cop. Narco Cop, I kind of have a feeling what you're going to say here, but what you got for us?
Yeah, so I have a bet. Jim Miller, round 1 submission, plus 700. I think that line is gone now. It's down to plus 500, I believe, at best. But what I will tell everybody, and I said this yesterday, is this guy's cardio, Jim Miller, is a red flag. On the scales, he looked fucking terrible. His belly was sticking out like crazy, worse than I've ever seen him. You know, I'm not trying to advocate for Gonzalez because he's not good, man. He's not good standing. He's not good really anywhere. But one thing he is good at is pressure and cardio. He has both of those things. And if Miller does not finish this guy early, come the 7.5 minute mark, this guy's going to come and he's going to keep coming. And, you know, the Gonzalez round 3 plus 2,900 is absolutely insane for me against a guy they're polar opposites when it comes to cardio. So 2,900 is astronomical. I don't think that's bad whatsoever. If you want to take a little poke, I think that's a good poke.
Gonzalez round 3. What I will say, if Jim Miller does not get that round 1 sub, and if you do have a bet on Miller, especially at chalk, you are going to be sweating. And yeah, Miller does slow down tremendously after round 1. So I think it's a really interesting call there, especially at plus 2,900. We have Adrian in the chat saying Fioro by execution won't be close. Yeah, we'll definitely find out soon. Adrian, appreciate you for the dono. For me, I'm going to go with the Jim Miller to win in round 1, which I believe is, if I can find it, Jim Miller to win in round 1 is plus 300 now. That's plus 450. That's not bad. Plus 450. I believe I bet it like plus 550 earlier in the week. It seems like everybody has a bet on Jim Miller, whether it's by sub, whether it's by round 1 sub, whether it's in round 1, and for a very good reason. Like, that's his path to victory. His path to victory is going out there, getting a takedown, and submitting him shortly after. So I definitely get it. I do think that's what happens. But if, like Narco said, if it does not happen, like, I'm going to be very scared about Miller going forward into the second and especially into the third round. So hopefully Miller gets it done round 1. If not, it's going to be very, very sweaty going forward. But yeah, curious to what you have on this one, Weezy.
Yeah, so same thing as Narco Cop. I got the first round submission prop for Jim Miller. If it gets out of that first round, man, shit is going to get very hairy. And dude, plus 2,900 for Gonzalez to win in the third round. I absolutely love that. As soon as we're done here, I'm getting maybe a 10th or maybe even a quarter unit on that just to be cheeky because, Miller's conditioning bad. We've seen that his only win condition is really getting it to the ground and submitting people. And if there's somebody that's ripe to get submitted by a guy in Jim Miller who has right now, in comparison to Eric Gonzalez, Jim Miller has 37 more UFC fights. You got a guy making his debut against a guy who is fighting when some of you guys weren't even born yet. So, this is a very, very, very experienced Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt going up against the guy in Gonzalez who has been submitted by low-level people twice out of his 5 losses. Jim Miller by first round submission, or like Narco Cop said, might as well take a 10th of a unit stab to win 2.8 on Gonzalez to win in the third, because Miller's conditioning unquestionably going to be a problem here if this thing gets to the second and third round.
Yeah, I like it. Great takes there. Tajik, you lean in the same way? You think Miller gets it done early, possible Gonzalez late? What are you looking at?
I think he gets it down early. I think he just takes his back and submits him via a rear naked choke in the first. But if he doesn't, it could be interesting live betting opportunity, right? Like, imagine the odds, for Miller skyrocket so high, and then round 2 and 3, Gonzalez making a comeback, to take it to a decision. I mean, this would be absolutely, crazy. But yes, again, I think round 1 sub, I think is a very viable bet, and then in terms of the live betting, watching it after the first round, if Gonzalez survives, this could be an interesting live betting opportunity.
Sounds good. Looks like we're all on the same page there. Asking what book is the plus 2,900. I think that is on FanDuel Sportsbook, right, Narco? FanDuel Sportsbook. There we go. All right. So we do have 2. Sweet. So we have 2 fights left, about 15 minutes before the card starts. So let's get into the Arlovski versus Carlos Felipe fight. And let's start with Narco Cop. Narco, what are you looking at here?
I have a bet on Andre Arlovski by decision plus 195. I still would take it currently. I think it's plus 175. I wrote it down. Um, I talked about this yesterday also. Like Arlovski, when he faces the lower level heavyweights, man, he's going to dominate for the most part, and he's going to be the better striker, the crisper striker here. Good leg kicks. The much bigger guy here. Felipe just doesn't, he throws those weird overhand rights, more slappy than powerful. The guy doesn't really have many KOs on his ledger. So, a guy like Arlovski, very, very seasoned vet. I just see him, winning the striking matchup here. A lot of leg kicks, longer guy. For me, when he steps down, he wins. When he faces, the top tier guys, he loses. And right here, it's a big step down for him. And to me, he's going to win, and he's going to win comfortably. But the one thing with Arlovski is he's not much of a finisher, this late in his career. And one thing I will say is Felipe is extremely, extremely durable. So plus 195, 175 now, with his most likely path of victory, I think it's value.
Hey, can't complain there. I think it's going to be a close fight. I think it goes to decision. Arlovski, the more experienced guy, the more tested guy. Like you mentioned, when he takes steps down, he wins these fights, right? All the time. So plus 175, I don't hate that line. For me, I'm going to go a little bit of a safer route, I guess you could say. I'm going to go with the fight goes to decision. This is an official play of mine. Like you said, both guys are not finishers. We still see it at minus 164 for the fight goes. I think the last time Arlovski's had a finish was like 18 fights ago. Like it's been a while since he's had a finish. And then as far as Felipe goes, no finishes in the UFC. He's never been finished in the UFC. I don't believe in his career as well. I took a look at some of his fights like outside of the UFC that were from a long time ago. He's finishing guys. It's more so like ground and pound, or it's more so like the guy is gassed out after like 30 seconds. I've not really seen a ton of power at all from Felipe. And you take a look at Arlovski, when he's getting knocked out by guys hit really hard, like Jairzinho Rozenstruik, like guys like that. And then on the flip side, like I said, Arlovski's not a finisher. Neither guy's really a finisher. And both guys are pretty durable, except Arlovski. But when he's getting knocked out, like I said, it's by really hard hitters. I just don't think Felipe has that. So give me the fight goes, covers both sides, minus 164. I don't hate that at all. And typically I'm an under guy. I'm a violence guy, but this is a spot that really did stick out to me. Weezy, what are you looking at for this fight?
Right there with you, brother. Minus 164. Fight goes to decision. I have it in a 4-leg greasy time prop parlay here. Yeah, dude. Neither one of these guys has got any kind of finishing power at all at the UFC level at this point in both of their careers. Minus 164 feels extremely safe. I'm going to leave it at that.
There we go. We have Dono in the chat. Adrian saying, hot take. This screams go the distance, but I got a feeling Arlovski might KO this dude. That is a hot take. Appreciate the Dono. We'll have to see. Tajik had a hot take a couple weeks ago on the show in terms of Santos Walker going the distance. The only person in the world on that. Tajik, do you have a hot take here? Do you think this does finish, or do you think it goes to decision?
I don't know if it's a hot take, but yesterday night I had a dream. And in that dream, Arlovski was fighting Felipe. And so Arlovski was piecing him up with the jabs, and Felipe got so angry. And what happened is that he flexed, and his hair turned blonde. So he became so agitated, and then he had this supervision, and he could see right through Arlovski's beard, and he found his chin to knock him out. It was a very strange dream, but after seeing it, how can I not bet Felipe by TKO? And I know I would have to leave with this bet and this pick, but it's just this. It was so vivid. Unfortunately, when I was watching this dream, I couldn't see which round it was, so it was hard for me to tell. But Felipe by TKO is gonna be my pick because, I believe in my dream. Yeah, there you go.
Dude, if you hit this, for one, I'm going to lose my bet. But for two, I'm bringing you right back on the show next week. That'd be a crazy call.
I'm changing my bet. That kind of logic, how could you not? It's got to be Arlovski by first round knockout. Maybe even in the first 6. Or no, I'm sorry, Felipe, because his hair turned blonde. So yeah, Felipe by first round. I'm changing it.
Yeah, that overhand right, it's just crazy. I don't know, but yeah.
Hey.
He turned it over instead of slapped it.
Okay, yeah. Groundbreaking analysis, Tajik. I love it. That's why we love having you on the show. That is awesome. So yeah, we'll move on to the main event though. We have Norma Dumont going against Aspen Ladd. Maybe not the best main event in the world, but I'm looking forward to it somewhat. Let's start right back with Tajik. Tajik, what are you liking for this main event here?
Yeah, we broke this down fight extensively, throughout the previous shows as well. I think there's a lot of noise with regards to Aspen Ladd, missing weight, and it's just like being inactive for quite some time. But she's a great fighter, she's a vicious ground and pounder. And with Norma Dumont, the problem I have with her, I have a very hard problem capping her as a fighter where she belongs. And she could go out there and put up the competitive fight. And I think for the round or two, she will. My earlier take was that if this was a 3-round fight, I think Dumont would have had an edge and she should have been a favorite here. But in a 5-round fight, I think it's very optimal for Aspen Ladd, and I think she will finish Dumont in the 4th. So my suggestion for this bet will be Aspen Ladd by TKO in the 4th round. It should be about plus 3,000 on FanDuel.
Yeah, so we kind of what was it? Plus 4,000, you said?
Probably plus 3,000. I mean, FanDuel will go bankrupt if it's plus 4,000.
Yeah, but it's probably something crazy for sure. But yeah, I'm kind of on the same page as you in terms of this fight going later in the distance. I'm going to take the over 2.5 rounds at minus 160. I do see this getting extended. I think if there is a finish in this fight, it's going to be more so of, one of the fighters slowing down, whether it's Dumont, we have seen her slow down in the past, or maybe even Aspen Ladd. Like Dumont was training for a 5-round fight. Ladd's coming in. She was supposed to fight a 3-round fight against Chiazon. She had a bad weight cut coming back a couple weeks later there, training for 3 rounds, like I said. So I think it's going to be later in the fight if there is a finish at all. So I'm going to take the over 2.5 rounds. I think if it does finish, it's probably going to be like rounds, 4 or 5. Or it could even go the distance. So I'm going to say the over 2.5 there at looks like minus 140 now. So yeah, I like that. Narco Cop, what are you looking at for this fight?
I actually didn't have a play here before, but I woke up today and somehow looked at it some more and decided to go under 4.5 at minus 108. I don't mind that at all. Just based on, first off, if Ladd gets this to the ground, I think she's going to have a lot of success. And we've seen it with Dumont on bottom. And Ladd, to be honest, is pretty nasty when she's on top. The other thing is, if this stays standing for long periods of times, I see Dumont getting off her strikes and really hurting Ladd on the feet, because I think Ladd is extremely sloppy when she's standing. And Dumont is the much better striker when it comes to the stand-up. So, these fights that I see, huge discrepancies when it comes to the ground game and the actual stand-up, I tend to like to go under. And that's where I see this fight, two people that are much better in their realms. And with that being said, the under 4.5 at minus 108, and not to mention that Dumont is pretty gassy when you look at her tape when it goes later on in the fight. So, this is a 5-round fight, and if anybody's going to stop it late, it's probably going to be Aspen Ladd. So I do like what Tajik said, round 4, round 5 even, might be something to look at with Ladd.
Yep, I agree. I think if it's early, it could be either Ladd or Dumont, but I think more so Dumont. Late, I kind of see it being Ladd as well. Wheezy, anything you like in this fight here?
So I've got the fight doesn't go. I got it earlier in the week at minus 120 on FanDuel. That's going to be the last of my 3. It was a 4-leg parlay. The 4th leg was that Marquez Wright wouldn't start fight round 3. So yeah, I've got the fight doesn't go here. And if you're on the Aspen Ladd side, I like Ladd by KO TKO at plus 275 right now on Bet Online. Her ground and pound is vicious, and we did see that when Spencer got on top of her in the 3rd round of their fight, that Dumont was unable to get up. And we do know that Aspen Ladd is going to fight to her win condition and go to the wrestling. She's not going to stand with this woman. She's not going to pull what Felicia Spencer pulled. So, Ladd, I don't see this fight going, because either Ladd's going to gas out trying to wrestle this woman and then get knocked out, or I think she's going to get it to the ground and finish it with ground and pound. I like the fight doesn't go. And if you're on the Ladd side, I like plus 275 Ladd by KO TKO.
Yeah, I agree. If you are on Ladd, I think the TKO prop is probably the way to go for sure. Plus 275 gets that line a little bit better. I think she is sitting at like minus 127, minus 125. So Yeah, guys, that's the show. If you all in the chat could hit the like button and subscribe to the channel as well. Again, we go live every week on a Saturday, 1 hour prior to the prelims, giving our best bet for each and every fight on the card. I will now kick it over to Wheezy. Wheezy, let them know where everybody can find you and what you have going on throughout the week in terms of MMA content.
Yeah, check me out on my YouTube channel, Uncle Wheezy, at MMA Wheezy on Twitter. I do balls deep breakdowns of fights. I do a full card breakdown every Tuesday night after the Contender Series called Just the Tip. And then Brady and I will be going live tomorrow, 5:15 Central Time on Pub Sports Radio for Stat Diggers.
Sounds good. Cannot wait for Stat Diggers and cannot wait to look into UFC Vegas 41, hopefully tonight after the card. Narco Cop, let them know where they can find you, what you have going on throughout the week.
Narco Cop on Twitter. I have my own YouTube channel, Narco Cop MMA. I do have a show, a Dana White's Contender Series show on Monday, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will mention that we've been killing the Dana White's Contender Series week after week. And I also have a new show. Actually did the second episode yesterday with Brady and Liam. It's called Lambo Plays. Come check it out. It's every Friday. It's either at 8 p.m., 9 p.m. I'm not sure. I've been twinkling back and forth. So based on my people that are in my show, I kind of go between 8 and 9. But yeah, thank you for everybody that's in chat. I'll always mention this. Without you guys, we can't be doing this content, guys. So thank you.
100% agree. Yep, I was on Narco Show last night. It was a very fun show. Really enjoyed looking through the odds and finding some Lambo plays. That was fun. And then we have Tajik, the GOAT. Tajik, let them know where they can find you and what you have planned, if anything, next week.
I haven't made my plans for next week. I think I'm gonna be on Narco Cops show on the Lambo show, and then a White Contender Series. I think this is gonna be a great show. This one was phenomenal yet again. Thanks again for having me on it. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and people in the chat, let us know if you enjoyed the show as well. I think it was time well spent. You can find me on Twitter at Tajik Bey, but I have to warn you that there is no unfollow button if you decide to follow me.
Sounds good. Yeah, go check out Tajik on Twitter, the GOAT, the man. Before we get out of here, I have a dono. Adrian saying, great cast and awesome show. Appreciate that, Adrian. May the bookies see blood. Good luck, everyone. Good luck to you all in the chat. Let's make some money on this not-so-great card. And we will see you next week for UFC Vegas 41. Good luck, and let's enjoy the fights.